Hey guys, Zen here, and today I wanted to bring you guys 5 news updates for Rainbow Six Siege. There's been a ton of new stuff revealed and a lot of stuff to discuss, so let's not waste any time and get right into it.
Come, break your back against a mountain.
So that was the teaser trailer for the new Defender coming to Rainbow Six Siege, and his name is Cade. Now, his gadget is called the Artilla Electroclaw, and it is spider inspired. Now, I've heard a lot of people discussing this gadget, what it may do, how it may interact with certain operators, and I have a theory that I wanted to share with you guys. So if you notice from the trailer, when the Electroclaw was fully deployed on the hatch, it started conducting electricity. This wasn't like a bandit charge where you just place it down and it just creates a shock out of basically a jerry-rigged car battery. It actually conducted the electricity, and Ubisoft makes it a point to call this gadget spider inspired. So my thought is that this gadget will be able to conduct electricity and create spider web-like currents that chain to different metal surfaces. So to break this down, I want you to imagine 4 barbed wire placed in a hallway. Now, with an operator like Bandit, you'd have to place each one of his battery charges in each one of the barbed wire individually to electrify them. Now, when I think of an operator like Cade, I'm thinking in that same scenario, if you throw just one of those Electroclaws into that pile of barbed wire, it'll chain and create a web of electricity through all of them, and you wouldn't have to use all of Bandit's gadgets to do the same task. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, well, what happens with Bandit? If this guy can conduct electricity and he doesn't really need as many charges as Bandit does and he can do more with less, well, what's the point of Bandit? So, of course, a lot of this comes down to balance. If this guy can conduct electricity and he doesn't need to use as many charges as Bandit does, well, you can almost guarantee that he's going to have less charges overall. At this time, Bandit has 4 batteries, and I'm thinking that Cade launches with 2 Electroclaw gadgets. Now, of course, there's also the rest of the operator. Bandit is 3 speed. He also comes with barbed wire and a nitro cell. It's possible that Cade is 3 armor or 2 speed, 2 armor, and comes with a deployable shield, maybe impact grenades, different kits, and of course, different weapons overall. So there's always going to be a difference in operator. But as far as fundamentally what these two do, I actually think there's going to be an interaction there. So again, back to the conducting of electricity, I'm thinking that if Bandit places down a battery, that electronic shock will be able to be conducted or transferred over to the Electroclaw and create a web across, say, a series of reinforced walls, and it'll overall allow both operators to use less gadgets. So in general, I don't think that Cade will all out replace Bandit. I think of Zofia and Ash, Buck and Sledge. There's always going to be those operators that do similar things but have an entire different gameplay style, and that's where I think Cade fits as far as the meta in comparison to Bandit. You've also got to remember that this guy can electrify hatches, so if he does only come with 2 or 3 of these Electroclaws and he uses 1 on a hatch, well, you're still definitely going to need a Bandit, or at the very least a mute, to deal with the rest of the reinforced walls, or if you want to electrify some barbed wire or something like that. So I think that Cade will definitely have his own playstyle, he'll definitely have his own niche, but Bandit will always be a viable operator. But if you're looking for a quick fun fact about Cade, it's possible that when he's introduced in the game, he will now be the oldest operator on Team Rainbow Six. Previously, it was Thatcher at 57 years old as of now, but looking at Cade, this guy may be older than 57. He may be older than 67, but we're just gonna have to wait and see his exact birth date. Moving on, I wanted to introduce you guys to the new attacker, Nomad.
On the highest peaks I found the wind. Now, I let it clear my path.
So this operator is a lot more straightforward than Cade, at least in my opinion. So she comes with the air jab launcher, and Ubisoft explicitly says that this will be the first attacker that is able to place traps, and finally is all I can really say. We have never really had an option for an attacker that's been able to prevent a flank or really have someone that watches their back. And yes, we have claymores, and to some degree those do serve that purpose, but they're extremely obvious. The red lasers are always sticking out and they're very easy to destroy. Now, I'm hoping that this this gadget is a lot more of a stealthy option to watch your back and watch the flank, and I'm guessing from what we've seen in this trailer that it will be. But let's quickly talk about how this air jab gadget actually works. So it actually came about while Nomad was out in Kenya. She wanted an option to push away the wildlife that came close to her camp, but she also wanted to make sure that she didn't harm them. And so after some testing, she was able to mount this air jab gadget onto her rifle and join Team Rainbow. So we learned 3 things there. First, the gadget is mounted to her main rifle, so I'm thinking that she'll probably only come with one primary at this point. Now, Buck is another operator that has his gadget mounted to his rifles, and of course he does have access to 2 of them, but the skeleton key is a shotgun undermount, and it's actually really common to be attached to many weapons. It really isn't custom made to him, but with this air jab gadget, this is something that she worked on and tested and made a point to kind of develop into her own unique style. And so I'm thinking that this is custom and built for her primary weapon, and she probably won't have access to any others. The second thing that we learn is that this gadget pushes the enemy back. So as we saw in the trailer, once this device goes off, it throws the enemy in the air and shoves them back in some way. Now, back in Operation Outbreak, when we were facing the Thrashers, the big hulking beast, when they would smack us back, there was a custom animation for us getting kicked back and then getting back up. And so I'm thinking that Ubisoft uses this mechanic with Nomad and introduces this same kind of gameplay. And finally, the third thing that we learn is that this gadget will do no harm to the defenders. So I look at this kind of like Ella. When her traps go off, they don't do any damage to the enemy, but they definitely disorient them, and the biggest thing about them is that they're extremely loud, and it's apparent where and when they're going off. And so I'm thinking that with this Nomad gadget, when the air jab actually goes off, you're gonna hear a defender fly through the air, you're gonna hear their body smack the ground, and of course you're gonna hear them scrambling, getting back up, trying to reset themselves. So I'm thinking that we're gonna use this gadget more so for intel than we do for damaging or hurting the enemy in any way. Now, the last point that I wanted to talk about is Nomad's resilience. Ubisoft says, in addition to her trademark gadget, she possesses unmatched resilience to survive the elements, and her endurance is famous within military circles. So we keep hearing about this. Nomad has been all across the world, and she has remained vigilant and resilient to any element that has come her way. So how this translates to gameplay is I feel that she'll have a little bit more resilience to the traps in the game. Now, I'm not saying that she'll all of a sudden be able to spot Legion traps, but I do feel like she'll have some sort of passive counter to the traps in the game, and we see this with other operators. For instance, with Echo, he has absolutely no effect when Dokubi calls, because he doesn't actually use a phone. Or with Zofia, she's able to pick herself back up once she gets downed. These are passive abilities that these operators have that I think Nomad will have, but just against the traps in the game. So these 2 new operators are very unique, and I think they're going to change the overall game flow of Siege. We haven't had an operator that watches our back like that. We haven't had an ability to electrify hatches or conduct electricity, if my thoughts are right. So I think these 2 operators are going to add a ton of gameplay depth and a lot of new and exciting ways to approach every objective in the game. So let me know how you feel about them down below. Our next update was actually sent to me by a subscriber over on Twitter, and it is a leaked pic. So I wanted to show you guys this. It's essentially a smoke pin. It looks official from Ubisoft. It looks like some kind of merch, honestly, but it shows all of the operator icons in the background. Now, the reason that I wanted to show you guys this is because, as you can see, some of the operator icons are circled here, and they are completely changed. Now, if you look at Caveira or Twitch, for instance, they remove any sort of skull symbolism from these icons. As we know, Caveira has that sort of Los Muertos look to her. She's got that face paint, that skull look to her, and in her icon, it reflects that. But here, it's completely changed. With Twitch, the skull and bones that usually represents her shock drone gadget has now been changed to just a regular Android looking icon. But the biggest one of all is actually with Blackbeard. They completely removed the skull from his icon and have basically replaced it with nothing. It just looks bare. Now, apparently this was on Reddit, but it was removed, and of course the subscriber was able to pick it up and send it to me. So this is not confirmed. This is not 100% 100% official, and it's definitely not been announced by Ubisoft, so of course take this with a grain of salt. But if what we're seeing here is true, and again, it's very possible because we know of the censorship policies that are coming, if it is true, this will change a lot of the icons in the game. Even small things like Fuse's cluster charge icon, it has a little smiley face on one of the grenades, and that has been removed. So it looks like Ubisoft is really gonna go all in when it comes to all of the censorship and all the things that are happening here, and so I just had to put you guys on, and of course I want to hear your thoughts about this, so let me know down below. Next up, I wanted to quickly talk about the new Fortress map. A lot of you guys have been asking for my opinions on what we've seen so far, and really I only have one, and it's that the map looks huge. It looks big. Yet again, another big map being introduced into Rainbow Six Siege. And I think a lot of people have kind of been stale on these bigger maps. I think of Villa, I think of Tower. A lot of people aren't big fans of these maps, and also some of them have a little bit of an audio issue because of the amount of layers and floors that they have and all of the different rooms that are there. So yes, the map is absolutely gorgeous and I love its really bright aesthetic, but I'm hoping that it's not too big and that all of the objectives are super viable, because I've never enjoyed it when only one or two objectives on a map are viable and it's the only thing that the community ever plays. I like when all of the objective sites are viable and all of them make sense to defend. So that's really what I'm looking for with this new Fortress map. Our fifth and final update is that Rainbow Six Siege is free. Well, actually we're having another free weekend here for the game, and it's always a great time to get in, try the game, experience it for yourself, and then on top of that you'll be able to purchase the game at a discounted price. Now, it really doesn't get more straightforward than that. We have a new season with 2 new operators, a brand new map, a more traditional season here on the way. We just had a really big balancing patch hit the game, so I think the game is in a really good spot as far as meta, and so of course this is a great time to try Rainbow Six Siege out and get it for yourself. Now, of course, some of you are going to be new to the game, so if you're looking for some quick recommendations as far as operators, I wanted to give you guys 2 attackers and 2 defenders. So on attack, I recommend Ashe and Sledge, and on defense, I recommend Rook and Legion. Just one really big tip. With Rook, drop the bag and never forget it. The free weekend will go on from the 15th through the 18th, and of course that is also when we'll get the official Operation Wind Bastion reveal. But that's really everything, guys. That's 5 huge updates for Rainbow Six Siege. But of course, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the new operators coming with Operation Wind Bastion, both Cade and Nomad? And what do you think of those new icons that were on display today? Let me know everything in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.